What's up, y'all? It's your host, Dylan. Welcome back to From the Garage Sports. And today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to go over every NBA team's best moment of the 2024-2025 season. When I say moment, I don't mean like specific game, specific play, or anything along that lines. I think a moment is just something like either the fans have realized or a really cool moment, like records being broken or big breakout games, or just memorable things that happened during the season. So there's no like rules or regulations. Like I can do trades, I can do winning lottery, anything that happened in between the start of the season and the last game of the NBA Finals. I am going to be honest, I don't watch all 30 NBA teams. So if I get your team's best moment wrong, or at least what you think it was, please put in the comments what you believe your team's best moment was. And while you're down there, give it a like, subscribe, all that stuff helps. And let's get into it. The first team I'm going to go over is the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks' best moment of the season, in my opinion, is kind of them realizing what Dyson Daniels really is. Because once the Hawks realized that, they realized that the trade for DeJounte was so worth it, and you can buy into this team. And that moment is what led into this offseason where they traded for Kristaps. They had an amazing draft, and all that comes from that trade for Dyson Daniels and him becoming the player that he became throughout this season. Next, we got the Boston Celtics, and I asked one of my really good friends who is a Celtics fan what he believes the best moment of the year is, because I just don't want to watch the Celtics, man. I had to watch too much of that second round. I could never watch that team again. What we believe is the best moment of the year for the Boston Celtics was them tying the NBA record for threes made in a game against the Knicks. It was just such a display, and it was such a fun watch. Even as a Knicks fan, it hurt. Don't get me wrong, but it was a fun game to watch, to just see these guys kind of go off and not miss, man. There was a stretch where it was just like, man, these guys are the best at basketball you could be. Next is the Brooklyn Nets, and I think the Nets' best moment of the year was realizing how hard they won the Mikal Bridges trade. The Knicks gave up way too many picks for Mikal Bridges, and if you were a part of Knicks and Nets Twitter like I am, you saw throughout the year that Nets fans would often talk more about how bad Mikal had been for the price than their own team. So I think that that's a really good moment for them, and it just showed like, hey, the front office is trying to move in the right direction. Now for the Charlotte Hornets. Some of these teams, man, I'm sorry, Hornets fans, if any of you exist. It's hard to come up with some of these moments for these teams that either were lower in the standings or don't really have a direction. But what I think the best moment for the Hornets was when they beat the Lakers right after the Lakers rescinded the Mark Williams trade. That game was such a fun watch. I remember me and my friends were out at Korean barbecue and just losing our minds at the fact that Mark Williams was going off and that it was even a close game. And the Hornets end up winning that game, which is just so good for them. And it kind of just like made you wonder why they didn't just do the Mark Williams trade. Now, the Chicago Bulls' best moment was probably the Josh Giddey game winner against the Lakers. I know, shocker. Teams beating the Lakers are teams' best moments. You're going to hear that a lot. That was just a fun moment for a team that's super middling and doesn't... Again, another team without direction. The front office has not made the greatest of moves in the last couple years, and they're kind of in a middle ground. But that moment was so fun, and I remember Twitter and Instagram just going crazy with those clips. And now the Cleveland Cavaliers had a really fun season. There was a lot of moments to choose from. I got it down to 2. They had a couple win streaks that I wanted to do, but I really think it's just securing the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference for the first time since 2016. Being able to secure the 1 seed is so huge, especially when you look at it as the lens of, man, this is the first time they've done that since LeBron was there. And it also just showed that this core is really good, and they can take that next step together. It's going to be a little difficult because the playoff performances have shown them to trend towards being droppers than risers. But if they can fix that, this team has such a bright future, and getting the 1 seed really showed that. Now, the Dallas Mavericks made the worst trade in basketball history, like ever. So they did have the low light of the year, but in that they had their best moment because they ended up winning the draft lottery that totally wasn't rigged at all. I don't know why you would ever think about even saying that. Don't do that. But yeah, the best moment for that team was them winning the lottery. I mean, AD went down with an injury. Kyrie went down for an injury. You traded Luka. You got Cooper Flag now. Like that was the best moment, bar none, for Mavericks fans. The Nuggets did have an unfortunate end to the playoffs. That game 6 was amazing. That I don't want to put a highlight though of like them extending a series just to lose it, right? I think one of the coolest moments for them though was when Jokic had the 30-20-20 game. Like, that's just an unbelievable stat line, and it really just encapsulates the season Jokic had, right? Where he just was putting up ridiculous numbers and doing amazing things with this Nuggets team. Now, the number one moment for the Detroit Pistons, bar none, was making the playoffs. I mean, my favorite basketball content creator, Motown Noah, a.k.a. Nick Hinkle, the host of the Coping Hour podcast, he cried. Just cried on his YouTube explaining how much it meant to him that they made it to the playoffs. And they almost beat the Knicks. They arguably could have. It was such an amazing series, and they put up such a good fight. And this Pistons team is going to be something to watch for years to come. The Golden State Warriors had a couple moments this year. I mean, when you have Steph Curry and you trade for Jimmy Butler, you're going to get some pretty cool moments. But I think the Game 7 win against the Rockets in the first round was my favorite moment of the year for the Warriors. Yeah, in that Game 7, you have Buddy Hield having 33, Steph with 22, and Jimmy Butler with his 20. Just such a crazy Game 7, and it was one of the coolest moments because it really just felt like this Rockets team was going to take that leap, and the Warriors nipped that in the butt. We just did the Warriors. Now we're going to go to the team that they beat in that Game 7, the Houston Rockets. Their best moment was being the 2 seed, and it sets a great precedent, right? You just re-signed Udoka. You traded for KD because Jalen Green wasn't that great in the playoffs for you guys, and you're doing the things that take that next step where, yes, you were the 2 seed, and that's awesome, but you did get knocked out. Now how do you take that next step to go deeper in the West? And I think that they are doing a perfect job at that, but this moment of securing that 2 seed really sets that precedent and sets the bar for them going forward. Now, the Pacers' best moment of the year was that whole playoff run. I mean, I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, right? If you want to pick an exact moment, you could do the Tyrese Halliburton game winner in Game 1 against the Knicks. You can talk about how amazing they played through the playoffs, right? That whole stretch was amazing. If I'm going to label it down to one moment, I will go with the Tyrese Halliburton shot, but making the NBA Finals and that whole run is really a moment in itself. God, that one hurt to talk about. Now, the Clippers had a good year too, right? They did make the playoffs. They were a seeded team. They didn't have to play in the play-in. But I think one moment in particular to me that really stuck out was the James Harden 50-point game. Man, that game just brought back so many memories of the Houston James Harden and just like the player that we all know he is and can be. It really felt like a vintage James Harden night where you just couldn't do anything to stop him, man. When he gets on those runs, it's some of the best moments in basketball history. So I think that I'm comfortable putting that as the Clippers' best moment of the year. Now, the Lakers' best moment, bar none, easy choice, the Luka Doncic trade. I don't even think I had to say it. I think I could have skipped the Lakers and everyone would have known, yeah, he's just going to say Luka. I mean, you get your future for the next however many years he plays, barring his health, and you get to build around him once LeBron's done in the next year or two. And you can also go try to win right now. You just get Ayton, and it's all just culminating at the fact that you got to trade for Luka Doncic, who will be the face of the Los Angeles Lakers. It's just insanity. The Grizzlies had a disappointing end to the year. That playoff series didn't go the way they wanted to, and they ended up firing Taylor Jenkins at some point in the year. It was a very strange year, but I think beating the Mavs in the play-in has to be their best moment. You got to play in an actual playoff series. The play-in is not an easy thing. You get 2 games if you're the 7 or 8 seed, and the 9 and 10 seed, you get 1, and then if you win, you get another one. So it's really like big to make it out of the play-in, right? Like, I don't think we should downplay it. The play-in was made for teams to make it through. I mean, the Warriors were in it and got a win against the Rockets. Like, that's big time, and I just think that that's a big moment for the Grizzlies. I'm sorry, Miami Heat fans. I struggled to find a good moment, like a great moment, right? Because you guys had a bunch of, like, improvements in player production and consistency stuff, but I don't think that that's a moment. I think for me, I was really happy when you guys moved on from Jimmy Butler. I think the Jimmy Butler trade might be the best moment of the year just because that saga and it was so much drama and just wasn't a fun experience as an outside looking in, so I can't imagine how Heat fans felt with what Jimmy Butler was doing and how that was going. So I think moving on from him ultimately is the best moment of the year. And with the Bucks, I think one of the coolest moments for them was winning the NBA Cup, right? I think winning the NBA Cup matters. I'm one of those people that thinks that the in-season tournament or the NBA Cup or whatever we're going to call it next year, maybe we'll call it the Tournament of Champions. Who knows? But I just think winning that tournament is really cool and it's good for the younger players and it's a spectacle, and I think that's something that the midseason of the NBA needs because it does start to drag at a certain point, right? So Giannis and the Bucks getting that win in the NBA Cup, I think, is their best moment, and it's not that close. For the Timberwolves, I put getting back to the Western Conference Finals after the Karl-Anthony Towns trade. That trade was looked at really bad by a lot of the NBA, and me included. I mean, Kat had a great year with the Knicks, and everyone questions, like, why would you do that move, blah, blah, blah. You got out of the second apron, and you still made it back to the Western Conference Finals. You turned Julius Randle into a really productive player in the playoffs until that last series, so recency bias may scrabble the head a little bit of these NBA fans. And Dante DiVincenzo ended up playing a lot of point guard for you guys because your point guard situation is a little awkward right now, and I'm surprised they didn't address it in the draft, but you can go back and watch the draft video with me and my brothers where we talked about that. But just getting there with the team that you had showed that trade was so worth it, and it did good things for your team. Yes, you didn't make it to the finals, but to prove that you can make it there after losing Karl-Anthony Towns just shows that future is so bright up there in Minnesota. I think for the New Orleans Pelicans, it's going to have to be the C.J. McCollum 50-point game around January, I think it was, against the Wizards. It was just a fun moment, right? Getting to see C.J. put up 50 against the Wizards and just kind of hoop out. Anytime you get to watch a player score over 50 points in a game, I think it has a really high chance to be the best moment of the year for a team, especially a team that didn't really have a great playoff push but is building. And now my New York Knicks, there's so many moments I could choose from. I'm going to try to keep this section short. I'm just going to go with the back-to-back wins against the Celtics in Game 1 and 2. Coming back from down around 20 points back-to-back games against the defending champions was one of the coolest things I've seen in my life. Yes, the Eastern Conference Finals doesn't go the way you want, but you get to hold on to that moment of seeing Macau kind of bring the team back in that playoff series and just seeing the games that the Knicks got to play throughout and, you know, winning in the second round against the defending champions. But that Game 1 and 2 come back, man, those were so much fun. And now the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't think I have to say much. I did a whole video on them. You can also go check that one out too. It's winning the NBA Finals. For the Orlando Magic, I was going to put that you made the playoffs, but you did that last year. And I was going to put development of players, but that doesn't really feel like a moment. So I'm going to go with Paolo's 50-point game against the Pacers. That was a super dope moment because the Magic don't have a deep history since they're a newer team. He's only one of 4 players in Magic history, joining T-Mac, Nick Anderson, and Shaquille O'Neal to have a 50-point game in the Magic uniform. Now, for the Phoenix Suns, I was going to talk about Devin Booker's game winner against the Bucks, but I found out that he actually became the leading scorer in Phoenix Suns history this year. That's such a dope moment for a franchise that doesn't have a ton of playoff success, had some fun teams in the past, to have a guy like Devin Booker there and to have this record broken and be able to watch a guy like that. And he seems to want to stay. He's intending to sign an extension. He's a guy that really loves Phoenix, and I'm just extremely happy for him and that franchise that they have a guy like him to hold that record. The Portland Trailblazers, man, they had this really fun 10-game win streak. I think it was like at the end of January, beginning of February, and they beat some teams like the Bucks and the Magic and just had a little run, and it showed like, hey, this young core like can build into something maybe, or maybe we can move these guys for assets that'll get us there. But having a 10-game win streak in the middle of the season like that is a really cool moment for a team that didn't have a lot of success last year. Now, for the Sacramento Kings, I'm going to go with the De'Aaron Fox 60-point game. And it hurts to go that 60-point game because they did lose that game, and they did end up trading De'Aaron Fox. So it's kind of crazy, right? I think the fact that the Kings' best moment is in a loss is very representative of Sacramento as an organization. I'm so sorry, Bijo. Now, the San Antonio Spurs' best moment of the year was trading for De'Aaron Fox. Man, what a deal. You're putting a premier point guard next to Victor Wembanyama. You have Stephon Castle win Rookie of the Year, and you get a top pick in this draft in Dylan Harper. You're building something special over there, and to bring in De'Aaron Fox was such a beautiful move. It just felt like an NBA My League moment getting him there. The Toronto Raptors' best moment is a little weird, right? Because I really think it's the Brandon Ingram trade, even though he didn't play. I think it's that trade because when he does get to play this season coming up, he's going to be that ISO scorer that they needed. I know everyone talks about the fascination with these 6'6 through 6'8 wings that the Raptors are just in love with, but Brandon Ingram is a true ISO bucket on a team that has a lot of guys who can score off of playmaking by other players. The Utah Jazz, making the lottery. Yeah, I don't know, man. You guys are just kind of rotting away Lauri Markkanen. I'm sorry. And for the Wizards, it's kind of the same thing. I tried to ask one of my friends who's a Wizards fan, but he didn't give me any response. So I'm just going to go with getting Alex Sarr in the draft. I mean, I don't know if that counts for this season. I'm going to count it because the Wizards didn't have that much. I mean, you can talk about the development of Bub Carrington and a couple other guys on that team, but I just think drafting Alex Sarr and just having the number 1 prospect at the number 2 pick and getting a guy to build around is kind of cool. And that's every team's best moment from the 24-25 NBA season. If you liked it, if you didn't, if you have another choice, let me know in the comments. Like the video, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.